Now, when you do a 5-leg parlay with all of those, the least likely being Umar Nurmagomedov by TKO, comes out to plus 20,009, which means if you put $10 down, you can win $2,000. What do you hear? What do you say? This is how to fuck up your parlay. I'm Timmy Shoes with Inside Fighting, and we are joined once again by our CEO and founder, Robby Clark. Robby, the UFC is finally back. I feel like we've been waiting a very long time. It's been a long 3 or 4 weeks. How do you feel about this card, UFC Vegas 67, Imavov versus Strickland?
This is definitely, when I looked at, there's a lot of stand-up fights on this one. This is a really solid card. It feels like last time we saw a show, Strickland was also the main event. I think there was one more in between that, but he's back at light heavyweight, so this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time that a fighter has done back-to-back main events since Tito Ortiz, going way back. I forgot what cards that happened on, but that's a fun trivia fact.
Yeah, I saw Tito actually posted it twice. Tito went back-to-back twice in different times. I forget, but he had posted it, and I was like, oh, yeah. And back then, I mean, Tito there weren't any big names. Tito was kind of running that promotion for a little while, and they used to have pay-per-views every 2-3 months or so. But he's gone back-to-back twice, which is cool. He's a legend in the game, Tito.
Yeah, so it's been a while. Strickland's only on this card because Kevin Gastelum had to pull out. He got a brutal mouth injury. I think he had a tooth knocked out. He posted a video on his Instagram of getting surgery. So Strickland stepped in short notice. A lot of people are making a big deal out of the fact that he's 10 pounds heavier. I don't know if you saw the weigh-ins, but Strickland came out at 204. Imavov, who was cutting for middleweight, was 194. So it makes sense. It's a 10-pound difference.
Well, what that shows me, because it was still, 1-2 weeks notice or something like that? What that shows me is Imavov wasn't in the height of his cut when that started happening. So it just means he doesn't cut a lot of weight at middleweight. But I was surprised to see that. I figure, most middleweights, they walk around over 200 pounds. And so Strickland's definitely going to be the bigger guy. He's not really a grappler. So we'll see if that maybe he could take a couple more shots. I actually, that swayed me. And again, I kind of want Strickland to win. I don't want to see 3 losses in a row. So that swayed me a little bit. But I'm glad, Kevin, actually Connor pointed it out that it looked like Kevin had staph on his face. And that absolutely is the case. So I think, it sucks to see him get injured, but it looked like he had more than that going on. So I want to see a healthy Kevin come back and pull some wins together as well too. So.
Right. We wish him a speedy recovery. So let's get right into it. We're only going to cover one fight on the prelims, but I think it's important because we just interviewed him. Javid Bahsarat, he is fighting against Mateus Mendonca. These are 2 undefeated fighters, okay? Basharat is 13-0. Mendonca is 10-0. Mendonca was a Dana White Contender Series product. He's coming off a KO victory. And Javid Bahsarat is undefeated. I think he's 3-0 in the UFC so far. What do you make of this fight?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go against him. Basharat, I think, I've not seen a lot of him, but he was impressive in his last performance against Tony. And then we've got, obviously, a newcomer who was on the Contender Series, another undefeated Brazilian. And these guys show no mercy. So this is going to be a fight, man. And I'm going to go with Basharat for this one just because, with these kind of odds, I'm just going to go with the favorite. I'm trying to not fuck up people's parlay this time, but I'm going to go with the favorite.
Right. And just so the fans know, Basharat is the heavy favorite. He's minus 315. Mendonca is plus 260. So, yeah, I think Basharat, if he doesn't get a submission, I think he's going to grind out a decision victory. I think he's better in the grappling. But it's interesting. Mendonca is coming off a big KO. So let's see what he can do. Now,
there's no shortness of confidence on either side. 2 undefeated young guys going in there. It's going to be a fight.
Absolutely. Someone's O has got to go. And you don't want to get the first loss under those circumstances. So I'm sure they're going to put everything on the table. Now, going into the main card, the first fight is Umar Nurmagomedov, who is the brother of Umar Nurmagomedov in Bellator, who's the lightweight champ, and the cousin of Khabib. He is also undefeated, 15-0, and he is fighting Raoni Barcelos. And it's safe to say Nurmagomedov is the favorite, right? He's a minus 950. Barcelos is a plus 650 underdog. What do you make of this fight?
Yeah, I mean, this goes without saying, but I'm obviously going to go Nurmagomedov in this one. Huge favorite. I hate seeing, or I should say I love seeing underdogs this big typically in MMA because there's just so many ways to win. But at the same time, I mean, you got to look. Who's the bigger knockout artist? Barcelos has some knockouts on his record, but he is a grappler. I mean, I got Nurmagomedov. Like these are fights where you like to sometimes throw a little bit on the underdog, but in terms of a parlay, you can't really go against Nurmagomedov. It's one of those ones where if he does wind up losing somehow, you will be very upset you did not add a plus 650 favorite or underdog to your parlay. But I mean, that's one way to fuck up your parlay is to put to bet against Nurmagomedov at this point, I think.
Right, he's 15-0. I don't think he's going to lose anytime soon. Now, it's interesting knowing that Khabib is now retired or semi-retired as a coach, so he's not going to be there in the corner, and maybe that affects these guys. I don't know. I don't think it will. I do believe Umar said that he thinks Khabib will be back at some point. I believe he was interviewed recently, and he said something along the lines of he's going to take a break, but Khabib will be back coaching soon.
Well, he was very active in everybody's corner. I don't know if he was in the Bellator corner. I'd have to look. But he's so busy.
I think he was.
Was he? Okay. I mean, it's just very demanding. You know, any manager, like we look at Zach with NDA. He's all over the place for his fighters. It's very demanding, especially if you've got a big group around you. So that makes sense to take some time off. He's definitely pulled in a million directions.
Right. So we'll see what happens. This next fight is interesting because it's one of the closer fights on the money line, but I thought it should have had a clearer favorite. Ketlen Vieira is fighting Raquel Pennington, and Vieira is the slight favorite at minus 120, and Pennington is even money plus 100. I personally thought Vieira should have been a heavier favorite. What do you think? What do you make of this fight?
I don't disagree. The only thing I don't disagree with you, but Raquel looked good coming off of her injury. So I think maybe that's kind of why. She's also the veteran in there, and she's got very good takedown defense. Now, Raquel does sometimes have a problem allowing people to push her against the fence, and that's where I get a little, a little bit nervous. And you look at the last two wins from Ketlen. I mean, obviously she beat Miesha Tate and Holly Holm, two former champions. Those are big resume builders. But you're also looking at Miesha, as great as she looks physically. She looks better now physically than when she used to fight. She's clearly, I think the game might have passed her by a little bit. And that's the issue that you're seeing with some of those fighters. Holly Holm, I mean, she's always jacked, but she's 41 at the end of the day. And she lost to Ireel. She lost to Raquel Pennington. And Raquel was a little more dominant, I would say, than Ketlen. Well, just look at the judges. I mean, not that you can always go by them, but Ketlen won a split decision. Raquel went on here. But guess what? I guess I'm going to be going against you on this one because I'm going with my girl Raquel. I think I'm cheering for her. This is a little bit of an emotional one, I'd say, on my side, an emotional pick, if you will. I want Raquel to win this one, to see what's up. And she's still relatively young. 34 for a veteran. 34 is you still got it, right? So yeah,
she's one of those names where you hear that she's 34 and you're like, wow, she's only 34. It feels like she's been in the UFC so long.
Let's go, Raquel.
All right, you're going with Raquel. I like it. Now, next up, we have another guy who we interviewed on 5 Minutes for Fighting. Puna Soriano is taking on Roman Kopylov. These guys, two middleweights, identical records, 9-2. The odds, Soriano is a favorite at minus 155, and Kopylov is plus 135. Two guys with heavy hands. What do you make of this fight?
I'm going with Soriano. I mean, that Hawaiian heat is just, these guys are built different, and he's not going to have to worry about the takedown. You saw against his last loss against Nick Maximov, he was slinging heat, but he just, Nick controlled him in that fight and won a split decision. I think it was in that one. But, you know, still impressive performance nonetheless. And in this situation, even though Roman's a Russian, I don't feel like he's going to have to, he doesn't have the wrestling skills that Nick does. And he's going to want to stand and bang. He's a knockout artist as well, too. So it's going to be who catches who with the heat. But I've always been impressed with Soriano's ability to move with punches and just sling them hands.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to go with Soriano in this one. It's going to be a fun fight. This could be fight of the night.
Oh, yeah, I agree 100%. Soriano slings hammers. Kopylov, he's a great striker in his own right. And I think Soriano's going to find that knockout. So moving right along, the co-main event, Dan Ige versus Damon Jackson, a battle of the featherweights. Ige is a -125 favorite. Jackson is a +105 underdog. So one of the more closely matched up fights. What do you make of this fight?
You know, it's funny. I was surprised. I forgot that Damon Jackson's obviously a few years older, but Damon Jackson has been on a tear lately. If you look at his last, he lost against Topuria, but everybody's lost against
everyone's losing against Topuria.
Yeah, and that was 2 years ago. Before that, he had lost in 2019 in the PFL. But if Jackson is going to be able to fight those top 5 guys, now is when it's going to happen. This is his shot, and I think he knows that. Whereas Dan Ige is on a 3-fight losing skid. He's a little bit younger at 31, but at the same time, and don't get me wrong, I mean, Josh Emmett and Mavsar, like those are his last 2 losses. But he fought Chan Sung Jung before that. You know, a much you know, a veteran in his right as well too. And I don't, you know, he just fought for the belt, of course, but I don't. It's just like Dan might be suffering from his confidence right now, whereas Damon Jackson, this is his time. If he's going to do it, it's right now. And he's a slight underdog. I'm taking Jackson in this one.
I agree. I think Ige's been on the skid. I think his confidence is going to be shot. It's going to be affected, I should say. I don't want to say it's shot. I'm going to say he needs to win. He really needs to win, and the pressure is on him. And you're right about Damon. If he's going to put it together, he's got to do it now. And I believe Ige still might be in the top 10. If he's not, he's definitely in the top 15 at featherweight.
I mean, it's not better competition. Let's face it. But when you've lost 3 in a row, you're like, damn, I really got to win this one. And this is a confidence factor to me. Whereas Jackson's coming in, you know, how can he not be confident? He's been on a tear. So to him, he's like, this is my time. And he's right in his prime. I've got Jackson on this as a slight underdog.
I like Jackson as the underdog too, and he is on a 4-fight win streak. For people who don't know, he's coming off a TKO of Pat Sabatini. Now going into
that's big again. Like Pat Sabatini's no joke. So
and it was in the first round too. It was a minute into the fight, so I think a lot of people like Sabatini in that one, and Jackson showed up. All right, now the main event, Strickland versus Nassourdine Imavov. What do you make of this fight?
So it's funny. I would like Imavov, like Strickland makes every fight so tight, and treats it almost like a hardcore sparring match. So I'm gonna go, but this is again a little bit of an emotional pick, and the fact that I saw the weight advantage there, the 10-pound plus weight advantage for Strickland. I'm going to go with Strickland. I think it's going to make his chin a little bit more durable. Not that it's not been durable, but I think he's going to be able to stay in the pocket a little more. He's going to know he's a bigger guy. He's got that confidence. I don't think even though he's like, not really training, I don't think he ever stays out of the gym. You can't keep him out of the gym. It doesn't seem like he has a lot of vices outside of wanting to spar every single day. So I want him to win. I don't want him on a 3-fight skid. I got to tell you that 10+ pound weight advantage did make an impact on my decision making there. So I'm going to go with him on this one. And I think, and to be honest, I thought he won his last fight too. A lot of people agree with that. A lot of people thought that he beat Cannonier. It was a very close fight. One of those, you know, you don't know what the judges are going to say. And it was a split decision. So the fans know Strickland is a slight underdog, +105, and Imavov is the -125 favorite. I'm going to disagree with you. I think Imavov's going to get the job done. I know we don't want to see Strickland go on that losing streak, but I think, you know, he's coming in short notice. Imavov's been putting it together.
He's on a 3-fight win streak. He beat Joaquin Buckley, Edmund Shabazian, Ian Heinisch. So he's been putting it together, and I think he's going to cement his journey into throwing his name into the pool at middleweight, so to speak. Yeah. So I'm going to go with Imavov.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, he looked incredible against Joaquin, although he was a lot larger than Joaquin as well, too. Joaquin, I feel like at 170 would just be devastating. But sometimes he looks a little, clearly he hits the limit, but he's a little bit shorter. I feel like at 170, he's a whole different beast. Edmund, he won his fight coming back, but he's got to do more to prove that he's in that top echelon. He did lose a decision to Phil Haas. Now, Phil Haas is like, Kevin Rendleman 2.0, athleticism and that blonde hair. The blonde hair. Yeah. So, that's a respectable loss, if you will. But again, emotional pick there. I can see why you're taking Imavov. He looked great in his last performance, but he's not going to be bigger than Strickland. And Strickland, he just dealt with a beast in Cannonier. So let's go Strickland.
All right, we're going to see how it plays out. Now, folks, we have arrived at Timmy's Super Parlay of the week. All right, I'm mixing it up a little bit. I've only picked 2 fights on the money lines, and then I'm going with finishes, okay? Because we got some really interesting odds on the finishes. Now, my first pick was Basharat by submission. Javid Bahsarat, I think he's going to submit Mateus Mendonca. I think he's going to grind it out. He's going to find those positions. I think Mendonca is going to put himself in bad positions, hunting for that knockout. Now, that's plus 225, all right, for that one. The next part, this is a 5-leg parlay, by the way. The next leg of the parlay is Umar Nurmagomedov, and I'm picking him by KO, TKO. And I think he's going to do it with ground and pound. Now, this is plus 650, which surprised me a little bit. I think it was only plus 100 for a decision. So I think the expectation is that Nurmagomedov's going to, he's going to grind him out with that Dagestani wrestling, throw him up against the cage, control his wrists, and sort of point his way in top position to a decision. I think he's going to get a TKO with the ground and pound, Khabib style, to send his coach off into the sunset, happy in retirement. Now, we were talking about
submission on that one.
The odds are submission. I don't have it with me. I'm going to have to pull it up. But I can't pull it up right now because DraftKings is blocking me out from Brazil. It was close. I think it was plus 100 for decision, and then it might have been like plus 200 for submission. So it was close. It was close. If you want to pull up DraftKings, that's where we'd have to find it.
Yeah, go to
now, the third leg of the parlay, I'm going Soriano by KO. We were talking about how he likes to sling, right? Soriano by KO is only plus 150. So obviously there's an expectation that this might happen. And for the last 2 legs, I'm going Ketlen Vieira on the money line and Nassourdine Imavov. Now, when you do a 5-leg parlay with all of those, the least likely being Umar Nurmagomedov by TKO, comes out to plus 20,009, which means if you put $10 down, you can win $2,000. What do you make of that parlay?
I think it's pretty good. What I might switch is the Soriano, maybe going, I'm trying to look at this now, but above 2.5 rounds or possibly a decision, just because neither guy has been knocked out before to my knowledge. And they might sling and they might get hurt, but maybe they stay standing and it might get you a little better odds than a TKO KO. I mean, these Russians are tough to finish, but listen, how can you go wrong with something like that? I would also say maybe a submission for Nurmagomedov, but it depends on the odds. They're probably not as good for him to submit him as they are to TKO KO. So we'll see on this one.
Right. This is how I envision that playing out. I saw that plus 650 and I was like, I want this to happen. How am I going to make it happen in my mind?
Yeah. Soriano's plus 350, by the way, for decision.
Plus 350 for decision. Wow. So, yeah, the expectation, I mean, I don't think a lot of people think that one's going to go the distance. Everyone wants to see the knockout, right? So,
yeah.
But I see Barcelos getting tired. I see him getting desperate, hunting for a big knockout, and then Nurmagomedov gets on top. He's in top position, and he does the mauling, right? What Khabib used to do to guys. Imagine the Michael Johnson fight where Khabib was just on top of him, smacking him around, talking to him. You have to give up. You have to give up. So I see something like that happening. TKO. I don't think he's going to get the KO, but TKO up plus 650. I can see it happening with that Dagestani ground and pound.
100%. Yeah, the odds say not a bad one to take if you're limiting your bet.
All right, folks. So I think that wraps it up. Robby, you got anything else to say about this card?
No, man, I'm excited for it. I'm going to be rooting for Strickland and my girl Raquel. Let's see if the veterans can pull this one off. It's going to be a good card, man. This is an exciting card. Good way to kick off 2023. I'm excited for the year. We probably got the, return of John Jones. It's going to be amazing. I'm excited to see whatever Nate Diaz is going to do wherever he fights next. Is going to be crazy. Obviously you got the return of Connor coming back. He looks like he's back in the USADA pool now. I don't know if that's confirmed. He looks like he might have lost a couple pounds. So that'll be great. I think it's going to be a really exciting year. Some huge names coming back, and I'm excited. It's going to be a great year.
But yeah, for sure. I don't know if you saw, but Inside Fighting is 7-0 to kick off the year. Hopefully we keep things going. I know you and I haven't had as much luck in our parlays, but we're doing scoreboards this year, okay? So hopefully we can mess up Lockechetti because he's been on fire with his picks.
Yeah, lately. I love it. Love it. As long as we're winning the majority, we should be good. You got to have like a 75% win ratio. You're doing well.
Well, we're 100% so far. Let's keep it rolling. All right, we're InsideFighting.com. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. We're on all the socials. Hit us up. You know where to find us. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for having me on.